Good morning and hello from 57 West. I'm in a strangely quiet building, which has never been the case in our 6 years of existence. And if I'm honest, I'm still not used to. And I hope it's not something that we have to get used to, but we will see. In this time of difference, where we're all trying to figure out what church looks like and how we can gather, I'm really grateful that we've found a way to connect. So thank you for being prepared to have me with you virtually. And I look forward to a time where we could meet in person a little bit later on. I'm going to spend some time today sharing how COVID has affected what we do at 57 West, how we've responded to some of our community's needs. But I want to start by sharing with you from Matthew 18, because there are some scriptures that have shaped what we do, and they'll give the wider context to some of the activities that I'm going to share with you. So this reading is from Matthew chapter 18, and it's verses 18 to 20. I promise you that God in heaven will allow whatever you allow on earth, but he will not allow anything that you don't allow. I promise that when any two of you on earth agree about something you are praying for, my Father in heaven will do it for you. Whenever 2 or 3 of you come together in my name, I am there with you. I love these verses, and they've been so influential for us as a community because they encourage us to think about the purpose of our gathering. What is it that we think we're doing when we come together, and why do we do it? And it's been a real reminder to me and to us, especially in the last 6 months, that the focus of our gathering isn't the building, it's Jesus. And our building, particularly because our community is made up of rough sleepers and vulnerably housed adults, our building has had huge significance. For some people who come here, it's the only place of safety that they know. And to have that removed with no notice has had a massive impact on all of us, without a doubt. It's given us this safe, warm, comfortable place to be together. And like all churches, it has huge meaning for us. So the change has been really hard. But these verses in Matthew remind us that it doesn't matter whether we meet in the church building or in the local park. It doesn't matter whether there are 3 of us present or 300. God is present with us in that. And I'm going to share about some of our activities, which look so different to what I described when I was with you a year ago. But all the things that we're doing now are still an outworking of this idea that God is with us in all sorts of surprising places. So I'm excited to share that with you. Like you, we've been in lockdown since May this year. It's been a really challenging time, but for our community in some ways it's brought us stability that didn't exist before. So Southend Borough Council were really proactive in making sure rough sleepers moved into temporary accommodation for the lockdown, no matter how long that might be. So all of a sudden, people who had nowhere to go had a room. They had meals delivered. They had access to chargers and community and all sorts of things that they'd struggled to find out on the streets before. So it meant we had to be pastorally quite sensitive, because there were some people in our community who were finding it really, really difficult to adjust to the changes, and others who, if I'm honest, looked the best that we'd seen them in a very long time. So we were a really mixed group. We continue to be a really mixed group, and that influences everything that's going on here all at the time. Unlike most churches, we made a decision fairly early on not to host online services. And it was a huge decision for us, and one that we really had to think through, because we wanted to find ways to stay connected to each other. And our feeling was that if we did that online, or if we did it all online, the majority of our community would be excluded or pushed out from that. So lots of our members don't have smartphones, don't have laptops, can't get online, don't have internet access, and all those things factored into that decision. And it meant we had to come up with some different ways of staying in contact with people and encouraging spirituality and meeting practical needs. So it was a time of a time of learning, it was a time of creativity, a time of mild stress, if I'm honest, and lots changed in a very short time. So we didn't move entirely online, but we did a few other things instead and have learnt from those as we've gone. So one of the first things we did that was really key at the beginning of lockdown was to support the local services delivering hot meals to our community members. So we joined, a few of us, a team in a local night shelter, and were cooking through the majority of lockdown 150 meals a day, and they were being delivered to the B&Bs. And not only was that helpful because it meant that people were fed, which was important, it meant that we had a way of staying in touch with our community in a time where none of us were allowed out otherwise. So it was a really great opportunity to stay in touch, to pray with people, to check in and see how they were doing, and generally quite a positive thing for us to be involved with. I think as a team, one of the things that we hadn't anticipated was the sense of, it did bring a sense of purpose to us to be able to respond to what was going on in a really practical way. So that was quite helpful. Alongside this, so some of our community moved into the B&Bs, others were in their own accommodation, and lots were shielding, so that was tough. It meant that people couldn't get to the supermarket to get things, couldn't pick up prescriptions, all the sort of day-to-day things, I suppose, that we take for granted when we're not in a lockdown. So our team came together to deliver care packages, and food was donated to us for those, which was brilliant. And that gave us space to go to people's houses, see them on the doorstep, pray with them, chat, catch up, all those things. So the beginning stage was very much about connecting with people, making sure they were okay, figuring out if there was anything that we could do for those who were struggling, to identify the ways that we could support people. And it all started from there, really, rooted in the practical needs of the people who form us. From that, we moved outside, and the weather was in our favour as we did this. So we started a prayer group in the park. I think we had 3 or 4 people the first week that we went. There was still a lot of nervousness about being outside and safety measures and things like that. So we were very small, and that brought with it something really valuable. There are 270 people in our community, so we're huge. And in the best way, it's chaos a lot of the time. And to have the space all of a sudden to meet with small groups of people and to really get to know each other in a different way, to be able to pray together, to build relationships, was quite a precious thing. And it's something that we're really conscious we want to hold on to. And as things ease and we come back to our main space eventually, we don't know when yet, that closeness of the small groups is something that we really want to retain and build on if we can, because it's been a really helpful thing. It wasn't something we intended. We met in small groups because government restrictions meant that was all we could do at that time, but it's brought something really valuable. And what's been lovely about it is that while we've met on a Thursday in the park, community members have been helping each other out on the days in between and going to appointments together and helping people get access to food and all those sorts of things. So it's really cultivated this sense of community that I think did exist before, but has a new depth to it because we're not able to have mass gatherings. And so people get to know each other, perhaps in a different way to what they did before. About this time, another really exciting thing happened. So one of our volunteers, Helen, opened a property offering supported accommodation to rough sleepers. So 5 people moved in. The place was full immediately. It was wonderful. It was so nice to have somewhere to refer our community members and to know that people would have a roof and be looked after and be supported on their journey. And we started a prayer group with them. So that happens on a Tuesday evening. And it's lovely because it's made up of tenants in the house, but also mentors and volunteers who are supporting. And there's no us and them sense about it at all. It's all in, which is very much what we're about in the day-to-day anyway. And one of the group members was telling me just this Tuesday how they felt equal to everybody else in the room, and they haven't always felt like that. So it's really nice to have a place where everyone can go and have a voice and be prayed for and pray for others, and it just brings something of value to the community. So that's been an incredible blessing to us and to the house, and it meant that we could partner with them in some different ways as well. So I mentioned earlier that we didn't do online services because it's so difficult for our community to get online. So as lockdown went on, we started to think about what we could do about that, and we got some funding from the Southend Emergency Fund to buy 20 tablets and deliver some training. So we made a course. It's called Introduction to Social Media and Online Safety, and I became the deliverer for that course, which was terrifying because I don't claim to be an IT expert in any sense. So we hosted one of those days at the house to help get people online. And as we started the course, somebody there said, "Oh, I've had one of these before, and I know how to work it really well. Do you want me to take the session for you?" And on the spot, this community member just got up and led spectacularly. And it was really good because it empowered him to lead something that he was far more skilled in than I was. And it meant that I was free then to come alongside people individually who were, perhaps struggling or new to social media, and to help support them in a bit more of a personalised way. So it worked really well. It was a lot of fun, and it means that now hopefully we have an actual IT expert to support this rather than me. So that's been really positive. So we're continuing to roll that out, and it came from one of our community members saying to me in the very early stages of lockdown, "Oh, well, it's all right for you because you've got the internet and you can still talk to people." And in one sense, I want to say lockdown hasn't been particularly easy for anyone. It's been so disruptive to all of us. But in another sense, they were right, and there is a connectivity. It's not the same being online as it is being in person, but I've been really grateful that I've been able to stay in contact with family and friends, and if we can do that for others and help them to overcome some of the isolation that lockdown brings, then that's a really good thing. So we're going to continue with those courses, and like I say, use someone who's a little bit more skilled than I am at, making sure that works. So yeah, the prayer group started, the food provision started, the prayer continued sort of one-to-one with people, and then at the beginning of September, as things lessened a little bit more, we started to prepare to have people back on site. Now we have to do this really carefully. I know everybody does, but we're a large community for the space that we're in, and we have lots of members who struggle to follow the guidelines for lots of reasons. So we have to make decisions, as everybody does, I suppose, about how we can keep people safe. So we're reintroducing people to the building very slowly, very cautiously, and we do that in the knowledge that new restrictions might come into place that pause those or even take us back a few steps, depending what's going on. So we don't want to build up hope or build up activity that we're then going to have to stop immediately, but we do want to encourage our community to come out and interact where it's safe. So as of 2 weeks ago, we started holding appointments on site, and that's been really mixed. And we appreciate it's so hard to keep appointments if you're homeless, or if life is particularly challenging, or if you don't have a diary or a phone or an alarm. All those things make it a little bit trickier than normal. So we're being as flexible as we can in that if someone turns up and a volunteer is free, then of course we'll see them. But we really do have to limit numbers on it, and that's heartbreaking at times, because of course we want to help everyone. So how you boundary that is so difficult, and we just have to keep reminding ourselves that it's for people's safety. These restrictions are to keep our community safe, which is difficult, but it's the reality that we're in. So people have started to drop into us on a Wednesday. It means we can help people with things like getting doctor's appointments booked, sorting out their council tax, working through their bills, thinking through mental health plans and what that looks like at the moment. And it means that for us, there's almost a sense of ownership coming back about the place, which has been a really positive thing for us. Our outdoor groups continue to meet alongside our appointments, which has been good fun, although it does mean that we're a little bit of a fair weather church at the moment, because we've all agreed that we don't expect anyone to sit outside if it's raining. And so we're starting to think, as the appointments go well and we adjust to the new sort of rules and structure of things, that we might be able to bring our prayer groups back in shortly, which would be really helpful for us and would give a bit of consistency as the autumn comes. And on top of that, we are starting hesitantly to think about what alternative Christmas arrangements might look like. Now, we're pretty sure for us, unless things change hugely, we won't have our usual Christmas service here, which will be missed. But sad as that is, it gives us an opportunity to think about what are the different things we can do? How can we be missional about this? We're right off the high street. Is there something we could do in town to share the message of Christmas or to share what faith means to us at this time of year? So it feels a little bit early, and a little bit uncertain, because whatever plans we make, and it feels like whatever plans we have made in the last 6 months have changed constantly. And while it is sad, it's also exciting to think about what might a slightly different Christmas activity, service, project look like this year. And the honest answer at the moment is I don't know, but I'm really excited to see what we come up with as a community. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is an overview of what we've been up to. It's been really busy. It's been fantastic that our community have been so tolerant and supportive of the new measures. It's been really hard for them. It's been so disruptive, but they've been absolutely wonderful. And all these new things to get used to, like temperature checks and sanitizer and masks, every stage of that they've supported, which has been great. And our volunteer team have really come together to make sure that we are finding ways to engage with people, even if they're not the usual ways. So it's been difficult. It's been difficult for everybody, but there have been lots of positives come out of it, and lots of really exciting stories where I've seen people in the street and they've said, I don't understand what's going on, but I believe there's something or someone behind this. So it's making people ask questions about faith that perhaps they wouldn't have been asking outside of what's going on at the moment. And there's a sort of spirituality emerging there that I'm really excited to see build as we come back together as a community and sort of share how we're feeling about those things. So yeah, that's us. That's what we've been up to. I appreciate it is 6 months in sort of 20 minutes, which is so hard to condense. And if you've got questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. Do email them over. Do call. I hope that there's a time in the not too distant future where it will be safe enough for you to visit us in person or vice versa. And yeah, it would be great to continue this conversation in person, hopefully at some point. I want to close in prayer, but before I do, I just want to say thank you as well for your continued support of 57. You've been with us on this journey for such a long time. You support us in so many ways, and we're really grateful for that. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for thinking of us in your prayers. So I'm going to pray for us as we close. Creator God, we thank you that you are there with us in the mass gatherings of the past and the closeness of the small communities that we're experiencing at the moment. Thank you that we continue to be your church, whether that's inside or outside of the building. As we explore new ways of being, would you guide and protect us and continually remind us of your purpose in this world, which cannot be limited. Amen.